And our mission today is to really get into the nitty-gritty of one specific matchup, round 2, group 4.
And it's not just about who won, is it? It's about why they won, according to this very specific, very intense methodology.
Yeah, we need to understand the rules of engagement here.
Well, the setup is key. Albums are put into random groups of 4.
Just thrown together?
Thrown together, and the author listens to them back to back, like one continuous session.
Wow, okay. No breaks.
Seems like it's designed for that immediate impact. It's not about legacy or what critics usually say. It's about how they hit right then and there.
Which makes Group 4 a fantastic case study. The range here is just wild.
Completely, spanning almost 50 years of music.
Okay, let's lay them out. First up, from 1991, we've got Alice Cooper's Hey Stoopid, proper stadium shock rock.
Then leaping way back to 1964, the Beatles with A Hard Day's Night. You know, the birth of that pure pop sound.
Then jump forward again, 2005. Within Temptations, The Silent Force. That big, cinematic, symphonic metal sound.
Right. And finally, bringing us almost up to date, 2012, Emelie Sandé's Our Version of Events, that massive, soulful debut.
So 4 albums, all winners just by getting here. They survived round 1.
Exactly. They've already proved something, but round 2 is tougher. Only the top 2 move on.
So we're looking for the 2 that just clicked the most.
Yeah.
Or maybe held up the best under that back-to-back pressure.
Precisely. Which ones delivered the most compelling experience, the most cohesive listen, or maybe just avoided fatigue in the listener in that sequence?
Okay, let's unpack how they even got here, because the randomness of the first round really highlights how this whole quest works, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It shows how subjective impact can really outweigh, conventional wisdom or genre expectations.
Some of the round 1 groups were fascinating. You had these internal battles.
Right, like the artists were competing against themselves almost.
Well, the biggest one, for me anyway, has to be the Beatles. A Hard Day's Night.
Group 114.
Yeah, it was a full-on Beatles-only group. It had to beat Help, Beatles for Sale, and, get this, Abbey Road.
Abbey Road. I mean, that's huge. For many people, Abbey Road is the absolute pinnacle.
Exactly. So for A Hard Day's Night, that 1964 pop soundtrack, to be rated higher in this specific back-to-back listen.
It tells you something important about the criteria, doesn't it? Maybe it was the energy, the brevity, or just that sheer infectious pop quality hitting harder in that moment than the complexity of Abbey Road.
Yeah, maybe the simplicity was actually a strength in that context. It overcame its own legendary status, in a way.
It really did. It wasn't just coasting on being the Beatles.
Now compare that to Alice Cooper. Hey, Stoopid. It won its group, R1G106.
And it apparently topped Goes to Hell, Killer, and School's Out pretty easily.
Which suggests the author, in this quest at least, leaned towards Cooper's more polished, maybe more commercial arena rock sound.
Seems like it, preferring that over the earlier, maybe grittier stuff or the more conceptual albums. So Hey Stoopid is here because it felt like a solid, well-produced package.
Okay, so those are the internal battles. Then you get the genre mashups, which are maybe even wilder. Emelie Sandé.
Right, Our Version of Events. It actually came second in its group, Group 181.
Second, but look what else was in there. It qualified behind a Chris Rea compilation.
Still so far to go.
Right, but ahead of a Human League Very Best Of and Exhibit's Weapons of Mass Destruction.
Talk about a mixed bag, hip-hop, synth-pop, blues rock, and soul pop.
But notice the compilation thing again. Sandé's cohesive debut album beat out the Human League Best Of.
That's a really key point, actually. It seems like this quest format might actively penalize compilations, even though they're full of hits.
Maybe it's too jarring. Listening back to back, maybe you want that consistent album flow, that narrative.
I think that's exactly it. Sandé's album tells a story, has an emotional arc, a best of jumps around. Maybe the familiarity even works against it in this high-speed listening context.
Interesting. So cohesion wins over a collection of hits.
It seems to be a factor. And look at Within Temptation, The Silent Force. They won their group, 184.
And who did they knock out? Some big contemporary names.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran's first album, Plus.
Yeah, massive seller. Plus KT Tunstall's Invisible Empire Crescent Moon.
And Star Sailors on the Outside. So this Dutch symphonic gothic rock album
was judged a better overall listening experience in that moment than mainstream pop and indie rock darlings.
It shows the power of that specific sound, doesn't it? That immersive quality.
Absolutely. So the common thread seems to be, whether it's sheer sonic force like Within Temptation, polished rock like Cooper, or that tight pop structure of the Beatles, the winners provided a more focused, continuous, engaging listen than their competitors.
Regardless of genre or critical acclaim.
Exactly. Which sets the stage perfectly for round 2, Group 4.
Okay, this is where it gets really juicy, I think. The rock and metal face-off. Alice Cooper versus Within Temptation.
Yeah, 1991 Stadium Rock against 2005 Symphonic Metal. Very different beasts.
Let's start with Cooper. Hey, Stoopid. Came out in 91, right after Trash, which was huge for him.
Right. And the source material pulls no punches here. It calls it basically pure late 80s stadium metal.
Even though it's a 91 album.
Exactly. It's got that Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Mötley Crüe, DNA all over it. It wasn't breaking new ground. It was kind of doubling down on that sound.
The guest list. I mean, come on. Slash, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani. That's a Guitar Hero convention right there.
It's an incredible lineup. But does that help or hurt in an album quest focused on, like, overall cohesion?
That's the question, isn't it? Does it become just a collection of cool solos, or is it still an Alice Cooper album?
Well, the critique seems to suggest Cooper himself occasionally gets a bit lost. It praises the Satriani tracks, specifically Feed My Frankenstein, Little by Little, Wind Up Toy.
Right. It mentions the supremely good solo on Little by Little. So the high points are clearly very high.
Definitely. Satriani brings that specific flair, but maybe it highlights that the strength comes from the guests sometimes.
What about the title track, Hey Stoopid?
Yeah.
That's got Slash, Satriani, and Ozzy Osbourne on it.
Yeah, a real statement opener, and the source mentions that fun little theory about the lyrics.
Hey bro, take it slow. You ain't living in a video. Aimed at Ozzy.
Could be. Adds a bit of meta commentary, makes it more interesting than just another rock anthem.
It's fun, but the overall take seems a bit harsh. Caricatured cock rock offering. Ouch.
Yeah, it's blunt. It acknowledges the skill and the fun, but sees it as pretty derivative. It says it only sporadically excels with tracks like Love's a Loaded Gun, Dangerous Tonight.
And it mentions the obligatory soft rock ballad, Might As Well Be on Mars.
Right, which kind of reinforces that feeling of it being competent, polished, maybe even enjoyable in bits, but ultimately formulaic. Unoriginal is the word used.
Okay, so that's Cooper. Polished, star-studded, but maybe derivative. Now, contrast that with Within Temptation, The Silent Force, 2005.
Totally different vibe. Dutch, symphonic, operatic, gothic rock, #1 album in Holland, so a big deal for them.
The whole approach is just bigger, isn't it? More dramatic.
Absolutely. The description is panoramic metalscape. It's meant to be immersive, theatrical, mystical lyrics, mythology.
It mentions Celtic instruments, violin blended into the rock rhythm section.
Yeah, especially well blended, which suggests technical skill in arranging that complex sound. It's not just throwing everything at the wall, it's constructed, designed to sweep you away.
But then, the Evanescence thing.
Ah, yes, the elephant in the room.
The source is quick to defend them, points out. Within Temptation came first by about 3 years.
Which is factually correct. Within Temptation, we're doing this symphonic metal thing before Evanescence broke globally.
The author still admits the similarity kind of dominated the listening experience.
And that's fascinating from the Quest perspective, isn't it? Even if they're technically the original, Evanescence became so huge, so ubiquitous,
That the listener can't not compare them.
Yeah.
Starting with See Who I Am, apparently.
Right. So can an album really win you over if you spend the whole time thinking, oh, this sounds like that other band, even if it's historically unfair?
Well, it must have done something right to overcome that, because it clearly impressed. It mentions Jillian as a favorite track.
And Aquarius, Stand My Ground, says they were top-notch.
So maybe the sheer power and atmosphere just pushed past the comparison eventually.
I think so. Plus, the diversity helps. It mentions calmer tracks like Pale and Somewhere. It's not all full-blast symphonic assault.
Gives you breathing room.
Yeah.
Avoid symphonic fatigue.
Exactly. So you've got the sustained atmosphere, but with variations in intensity, it keeps you engaged differently than the Cooper album, which relies more on those standout rock moments.
Okay, so the battle lines are drawn. Competent, but derivative, stadium rock versus powerful, atmospheric, maybe slightly derivative-sounding symphonic drama. Right, let's shift gears completely now. For all that rock and metal noise to pop, but two very different eras of pop.
Yeah, 1964 versus 2012. Worlds apart in terms of technology and style.
We're comparing a pioneering classic, The Beatles' A Hard Day's Night, with a super polished modern debut, Emelie Sandé's Our Version of Events.
Let's start with the Beatles, 1964. The big technical thing here, according to the source, is the 4-track tape.
Right. First time they recorded an entire album on 4-track.
Which was a huge deal back then. Coming from mostly 2-track, it allowed so much more layering, more complexity in the arrangements.
And this is where they really started moving towards that pure pop sound, right? Shedding some of the earlier rockabilly stuff.
Exactly. It enabled that shift. But That 4-track sound, revolutionary as it was.
How does it hold up in a back-to-back listen against something from 2012? That's the challenge.
Yeah, it's a massive disadvantage sonically, isn't it? Modern albums like Sandé's or even Within Temptations are mastered loud. They have that depth, that weight.
So A Hard Day's Night, despite its genius, might just sound thin. Less impactful, sandwiched between the others.
Potentially, yeah. The simplicity forced by the technology could be a weakness in this specific test, even if the songwriting is brilliant.
Still, you can't deny the classics on there. The title track, Can't Buy Me Love, still sound great. Zestful and pleasing, the source says.
And it singles out Lennon's vocals on Any Time at All as forceful, a real highlight.
But then, the overall assessment from the author seems kind of dismissive, calls the rest polished yet largely overly endearment-driven pap love anthems.
It's pretty harsh language, isn't it, pap love anthems? But then it also says, beautifully crafted despite its simplicity, clinically implemented, and unnervingly catchy.
Okay, hang on. How does an album described as pap still manage to potentially beat out Alice Cooper's Stadium Rock, even for third place? That feels like a contradiction.
It does, but maybe it reveals something about the quest's values. Perhaps the author personally found the style quaint or overly simple.
But couldn't deny the sheer quality of the songwriting and arrangement, the consistency.
Exactly. Even if it's simple love songs, the execution within the limits of 1964 tech is described as flawless, clinical. Maybe that perfect, consistent simplicity was seen as more rounded than the ups and downs of Hey Stoopid.
So formal perfection trumping sporadic, maybe more exciting moments.
That could be the logic, yeah. The Beatles delivered something complete and consistent. Cooper delivered moments of brilliance, but maybe less consistency.
Interesting. Okay, that sets up the comparison with Emelie Sandé. Our version of events, 2012, Olympics year. This album was everywhere.
The epitome of polished, modern pop production, described as classy, accomplished, prolific for a debut.
And the key here seems to be the combination of that technical polish with real emotional depth.
Right. Brilliant vocal performance with genuine power and soul. That's high praise. And the lyrics are noted as being quite inward-looking, introspective.
But the sound isn't small or introspective, is it? The source says the music creates a larger-than-life piece of everyday storytelling.
Yeah, it's that contrast. Personal, introspective lyrics delivered with this huge, almost stadium-sized production.
Power pop ballads is the term used.
That's the winning formula, potentially. It uses all the tricks of modern mastering, the loudness, the clarity, the depth, but applies it to songs with real feeling. Tracks like My Kind of Love, Daddy, Next to Me, were apparently standouts for the author.
So it's got the sonic power needed to compete in this loud, modern listening environment.
But also the emotional connection, the storytelling that maybe the pure pop of the Beatles lacks for a modern ear, or the sheer bombast of the metal doesn't quite deliver in the same way.
Okay, so predicting the outcome.
Yeah.
Based on what we've seen about the quest favoring sonic power and maybe consistent storytelling or atmosphere.
It feels like Sandé and Within Temptation have an edge, doesn't it? Their sound is just bigger, more enveloping than the '64 Beatles recording.
Yeah, I'd lean that way. Sunday's mix of power and soul, Within Temptation's sheer atmospheric weight. They seem likely to overcome the historical importance of the Beatles, or the fun but flawed Cooper album, in this specific test.
I agree. In this back-to-back format, I suspect the immediate sonic impact and sustained mood of Sandé and Within Temptation will push them ahead. The Beatles might snag third based on that roundedness factor over Cooper.
Let's see if we nailed it. All right, the moment of truth for round 2, group 4. We've got the 80s metal throwback, Symphonic Storm, the 60s pop classic, and the modern soul powerhouse. How did the album quest actually rank them?
Well, our predictions were pretty much on the money. It seems sonic power and that blend of production and emotion carried the day.
Okay, lay it out for us from bottom to top.
In fourth place, Alice Cooper's Hey Stoopid.
Okay, makes sense given the derivative critique.
In third place, the Beatles' A Hard Day's Night.
So it did sneak past Cooper based on that consistency.
Exactly. In second place, Within Temptation's The Silent Force.
The dark horse, the silent force indeed.
And taking the top spot, qualifying in first place for round 3, Emelie Sandé's Our Version of Events.
Wow. So Sandé and Within Temptation move on. Modern production, big emotional soundscapes, triumphing.
Decisively. Over 2 albums representing very different but historically significant rock and pop moments.
Let's dig into the justifications, though. The Cooper versus Beatles for third place.
The author specifically said, Hey Stoopid had moments that rise above the Beatles, those guest solos, presumably.
Right, the Satriani bits.
But crucially, A Hard Day's Night was judged more rounded, and that's why it sneaks at third place.
So consistency really is king in this quest, isn't it? Better to be consistently good, even if simple, than to have amazing peaks, but also noticeable troughs or filler.
Seems to be a core principle. The Beatles album, despite maybe sounding quaint, held together as a complete piece better than Cooper's collection of rock anthems and guest spots.
Okay, and Within Temptation taking second, the justification there.
It was about pure power relative to the others. The quote is, "It easily outmetals Hey Stoopid and outpowers the Beatles."
That's pretty direct. It wasn't just different. It was sonically dominant in that comparison.
Yeah, it suggests the sheer weight and atmosphere of that symphonic sound just physically overwhelmed the other albums in the back-to-back listen. It created a more compelling physical experience.
Which does suggest maybe a bias towards louder, more expansive modern recordings in this kind of test.
It's hard to avoid that conclusion, isn't it? An album mastered in 2005 is just going to fill the sonic space differently than one from 1964, especially when listened to sequentially.
But power wasn't everything, because Sandé took #1.
Exactly. If it was just about loudness or heaviness, Within Temptation might have won. Sandé won because of that synthesis we talked about.
The vocals, the introspection, but delivered with that big power pop sound.
Right. That combination was judged the most rewarding overall listen. It had the modern production clout, plus that strong emotional core and storytelling. It offered the best of both worlds in this context.
So the big takeaway from Group 4. Pedigree doesn't guarantee success here.
Not at all. Historical importance, even beating Abbey Road, wasn't enough for the Beatles. What mattered was resisting that listening fatigue, providing a cohesive flow.
Whether through overwhelming atmosphere or that powerful, soulful storytelling.
Yeah. Sandé and Within Temptation delivered albums that felt like complete, intentional journeys, and that's what won out in this rapid-fire format. It was a victory for the polished contemporary experience.
A really fascinating breakdown of how subjective criteria work under pressure. Consistency, sonic presence, emotional connection, all playing a part.
It really shows how comparing music across genres and eras forces you to define what better actually means in that specific moment.
Okay, so here's the final thought for you, the listener, to chew on, building on all this. We started by talking about how A Hard Day's Night beat Abbey Road, a monumental feat. Yet here, that same album, A Hard Day's Night, praised for being more rounded than Hey Stupid's high points, still only came third. It wasn't enough to beat Sandé or Within Temptation.
Right, its consistency saved it from last place, but didn't propel it higher.
So, if that level of Beatles-esque roundedness and pop perfection wasn't enough against the power of Sandé and Within Temptation in round 2, what happens next? What even higher level of cohesion or power or emotional depth will those two albums need to survive round 3?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The competition presumably only gets tougher, the comparisons potentially even stranger. How long can modern maximalism hold out?
We'll have to keep following the quest to see. The standard is incredibly high now. Thanks for diving deep into this musical battleground with us today.